Jennifer Lopez has reportedly split ways from her record label.
What went south is her entire year last year. She had a deal with BMG. It's a huge music label. And she released This Is Me, ... now, and it bombed. Now, both camps are trying to say, no, this is just a one-off deal. That's all right. However, let's be clear. If her last album had done well, she would still be with her record label. And as of now, there is no other record label coming to snap her up. So for the first time in her life, Marky, this is insane, Jennifer Lopez is considered an indie artist because she is independent with no label.
Jennifer Lopez's career is collapsing in slow motion. What was supposed to be her big comeback has turned into one of the most embarrassing downfalls Hollywood has seen in years. The album tanked, the movie flopped, the documentary backfired, and her tour was such a disaster it had to be scrapped before it even got off the ground. Instead of proving she was still the Latin queen of pop, Lopez reminded the world of every old scandal, every borrowed song, every ghost vocal, and every diva rumor she thought people had forgotten. And if you think her latest failures are brutal, wait until you hear how her entire career was built on a foundation of smoke and mirrors. Her story starts in 1997 with Selena. The role made her a household name, but there's one important detail. She wasn't singing. Every musical performance in the movie was Selena's real voice, not Lopez's. And to be fair, that wasn't an issue at the time. Most actors lip-sync in biopics, and nobody expected her to out-sing Selena herself. The problem came later, when she launched a music career of her own and carried that same trick with her, leaning on other people's voices to build her catalog. 2 years after Selena, backed by Diddy, Benny Medina, and Tommy Mottola, she released On the Six. But the hits that followed didn't come without baggage. If You Had My Love was nearly identical to Shantae Moore's If I Gave Love, a song insiders say was redirected to Lopez. Waiting for Tonight wasn't hers at all. It was a cover from a forgotten dance group called Third Party. By 2001, she was releasing I'm Real, which used the same firecracker sample Mariah Carey had already cleared for glitter. That feud cemented Lopez's reputation as someone who benefited from label politics more than artistry. And then came Get Right, which bore a striking resemblance to an unreleased Usher track. Over and over, Lopez's career was built on borrowed material. By the early 2000s, critics weren't just questioning her songs, they were questioning her vocals. Ashanti admitted her voice is layered all over I'm Real remix. Christina Milian not only wrote Play, but her vocals remained in the final mix. Natasha Ramos has said she sang backup on Jenny from the Block. Time and again, Lopez's tracks featured the voices of others while she posed in front of the cameras. The evidence was stacking up that Lopez was less of a singer and more of a face for the product. Around this time, her public image began to sour. In 2002, the New York Post ran the headline, Jenny Who?, after Bronx locals said she didn't give back to the community she claimed to represent. They recalled being shoved aside by her bodyguards, watching her show up in luxury cars with cameras, and hearing promises of donations that never came true. Even during the pandemic years later, when her old school asked for scholarships, she ignored them. The Bronx narrative became one of the biggest cracks in her brand. She marketed herself as Jenny from the Block, but the Block wasn't buying it. But if 2002 was the year the public started doubting her authenticity, 1999 had already given her a scandal that would haunt her forever. That year, Lopez and Diddy were arrested after a nightclub shooting in Manhattan left 3 people injured. Lopez was quickly released and never charged, but the incident followed her. Now, with Diddy facing lawsuits and investigations, Lopez's name has resurfaced again, with allegations she brought the gun into the club. Whether true or not, the association reminds people that Lopez has always been tied to controversy. The timing of her meteoric rise right after that scandal didn't help the whispers that she benefited while others took the fall. As her career grew, her reputation for arrogance grew with it. Stories of diva behavior spread rules that no one could look her in the eye, that communication had to go through assistants, that she imposed bizarre demands behind the scenes. Interviews didn't help. Lopez dismissed Salma Hayek as a sex symbol, called Cameron Diaz a lucky model, said Gwyneth Paltrow was only famous for Brad Pitt, and even mocked Madonna and Winona Ryder. Ironically, the same criticisms she threw at others are now the ones critics throw at her. Lucky, pretty, famous for relationships, and not much else. Her love life played directly into her PR machine. The early 2000s Bennifer era turned her relationship with Ben Affleck into tabloid gold. But when that fell apart, she pivoted to Marc Anthony, a marriage that boosted her credibility in the Latin market and produced duets that covered her weak vocals. Years later, her engagement to A-Rod became a power couple fantasy until cheating rumors blew it apart. And then, right on cue, she reignited Bennifer with Affleck just in time to market her comeback album, This Is Me. Now, every relationship doubled as promotion. Love wasn't just personal, it was business strategy, and the timing has always been too perfect to ignore. By the 2010s, her career survived on brand power more than music. She was a judge on American Idol, evaluating singers despite decades of whispers that she couldn't hold a tune live. Her acting career had peaks, like Hustlers in 2019, which briefly reminded people she could shine in the right role. But the cracks in the music image never healed. And when 2024 rolled around, those cracks turned into collapse. The comeback was supposed to be flawless. A new album, a self-funded movie, a documentary, a tour. Instead, it became a train wreck. The album peaked at number 38 on the Billboard 200. The movie was mocked as boring and plotless. The documentary was ridiculed as an ego trip. Even Affleck looked miserable, chain-smoking his way through scenes that were supposed to sell a love story. And the tour? That was the final humiliation. Ticket prices were outrageous, and VIP meet-and-greet packages ran close to $8,000 for a few seconds of access. Fans revolted, sales tanked, shows were canceled, and she tried to salvage it by turning it into a greatest hits nostalgia show. But nostalgia didn't save her. Rows of empty seats told the story, and eventually the entire tour was scrapped. And as if that wasn't humiliating enough, Lopez herself quietly filed for divorce from Affleck, proving the greatest love story ever told didn't even last long enough to survive its own documentary. Now, in 2025, Lopez isn't celebrating a rebirth. She's enduring a career autopsy. The album flopped. The movie bombed. The documentary turned into a meme. The tour was canceled. The Bronx doesn't claim her. The industry doesn't protect her. The public doesn't believe her. Jennifer Lopez wanted to be remembered as an icon. Instead, she's remembered as a manufactured product, a brand that leaned on other people's voices, other people's songs, and other people's silence. She isn't Jenny from the block. She's Jenny from the bargain bin. And the sound you hear isn't applause. It's the flush of a career circling the toilet. If you liked this deep dive into the collapse of Jennifer Lopez, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And tell me in the comments which celebrities you want my opinion on next, because this house of cards isn't the only one falling, and you don't want to miss the next takedown.